Online game, I possess a monster merging simulator. Chapter 41, Poisonous Salamander King. Lorne quickly moved forward and quickly entered the target area. In front of him was a huge poisonous pool. The dark green poison covered the entire area. There were the skeletons of unknown monsters and rotting corpses floating inside. Before he could investigate the surrounding terrain, countless huge bubbles bubbled out of the poisonous pool. The air was filled with a disgusting stench. Lorne stepped back, his eyes on the turbulent lake. The bubbles became more and more concentrated, and the commotion became greater and greater. At this moment, the poisonous pool was suddenly stirred. A hideous bone claw reached out and touched the pitch-black ground. Splash! The poisonous pool churned as a huge head that looked like a catfish popped out. This huge head was already mostly rotting. There were 3 holes in the rotting white bones, and scarlet soul flames were flickering inside. The other half of the head was filled with poisonous lumps and rotting flesh, and there were 3 blood-red eyes embedded on it. It was then that Lorne saw the creature's overall appearance. It was a huge salamander monster. Because it had died for many years, its entire body was rotting. It had 4 white bone arms that were on its left and right. The sharp spiky bones on the back of its head reached all the way to the end of its tail. Other than the stench, there was also the yellow-white fangs in its mouth. Poisonous Salamander King. Grade, Boss. Level, 10. HP, 45,000/45,000. Magic Attack, 280 to 370. Physical Defense, 150. Magic Defense, 115. Skills, Poisonous Fang, Bite, Blood Claw Combo, Poisonous Explosion. Introduction: a salamander born from the corpse has been corroded by the power of darkness and has become the minion of the dark abyss. Any stranger who enters this area will be treated cruelly by it. From the attributes on the interface, it could be seen that the health of this boss was much lower than that of the Slime King who attacked the village. However, 45,000 health points was still the player's nightmare. Last time, it was the thousands of players in the beginner village who attacked the boss together. This time, it was only a 5-person team. Comparatively, it was harder this time. Moreover, this boss attack power was higher than the Slime King. Its attack limit was 370 points. As long as it used its skill, it could kill any non-tank professional player. Unfortunately, the boss encountered Lorne. Rimuru. Without hesitation, Lorne commanded his pets to attack. Although Rimuru was only level 5, it was a bronze-grade boss that had been created through merging. It now had 112,500 health points. It was not something an ordinary boss could compare to. Pfft! Rimuru spat out a ball of mucus and hit the boss's head. -205. Rimuru was created by merging with a potion. Its combat strength was very limited, so the single damage was not high. But at that moment, fiery flames flew behind it. It was a combo attack from the Fire of Death Rapid Fire. Very luckily, it dealt the highest possible 6 hits. -295. -81, magic damage. -293. -79, magic damage. The defense of the salamander boss was 150 points, but against small artillery who had 455 attack points these defense points were useless. A series of numbers appeared, instantly dealing a terrifying damage of 1,880 points. If his other teammates saw this scene, they would probably be stunned on the spot. Such damage was too terrifying. Roar! The Salamander King roared. After the high defense was broken, the grudge between the two sides was completely drawn. It charged forward angrily, its huge claws striking Rimuru's body, tearing half of it apart. -335. +55, absorb. The damage of a high-level boss was terrifying, but Rimuru did not feel anything. With 112,500 HP, such damage was nothing more than a tickle. On the other hand, the ferocious attacks of Little Mantis and small artillery made the Salamander King unable to hold on. Although Little Mantis's quality was slightly low, its attack power was almost the same as small artillery because it was level 10. Moreover, it had a high armor-piercing effect. The total damage output was the highest in the entire team. The level 4 small artillery could not outdo it for the time being. As for the Minotaur, it was in an awkward spot. Its attributes were useless on this battlefield. After all, they were facing a powerful boss. It was normal that it could not deal direct damage. Pew! 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 The arrow struck the boss crazily. At the same time, the sickle-like forearm was waved by the mantis, creating countless illusions that slashed at the rotting flesh of the Salamander King. Its health decreased very quickly. In less than 10 seconds, its health had already decreased by 10,000 points. Under Rimuru's interference, the Salamander King could barely counterattack. It could only roar angrily and vent its anger. At this moment, as the leader, Lorne stood around and calmly looked at the pleasing scene. This was the correct way to fight as a summoner. There was no need for the master to take action. The pets could do it in minutes. However, he had to think about something else now. That was the problem of synthesis. The monster in front of him was a powerful boss. If he took it as a pet, it would definitely allow his strength to increase greatly. But Lorne thought it was too ugly. Take the undead archer, for example. Although it was rotting, it was still a humanoid monster. Lorne quite liked the undead style it had. However, the Salamander King was different. It was covered in poisonous lumps and pustules, looking very disgusting. The stench coming from its body made people feel despair as well. To be honest, Lorne rejected it from the bottom of his heart. What made him hesitate was the attributes of the boss-level monster. If he merged such a powerful material, it would definitely be even stronger. Should he do it or not? This was a conflicted choice. Chapter 42, Inhumane. Small artillery, kill it. In the end, Lorne chose to kill it. Other than the fact that the boss was too ugly, there were several other reasons for Lorne to give up. The first was the synthesis material. Right now, Lorne did not have any materials that were suitable for fusing with this boss. Even if he tried, it would be very difficult to obtain a stronger creature. Next was the progress of clearing the dungeon. Lorne did not know if accepting the other party as a pet meant that he had passed the dungeon requirement. Although there was a high chance that he would pass, Lorne did not feel the need to take the risk. Instead of thinking about this, it was better to kill this boss and obtain the materials dropped by it to prepare for the synthesis later. After all, this was only the first boss in the dungeon. He had to look further ahead. With that in mind, Lorne gave the order to kill. The pets no longer held back. They all unleashed their greatest strength. Several combo skills were used at the same time, instantly dealing more than 6,000 damage. The Salamander King could not stop them. Under the barrage of this storm, the first boss guarding the valley quickly fell to the ground unwillingly, turning into a pile of rotting bones. Ding! Congratulations on killing the boss poisonous Salamander King. Current dungeon completion level, 50%. A pleasant system notification sounded. The ground was also filled with loot. There were 5 items, 4 of which were bronze in color, and the last was silver in color. Poisonous armor. Quality, silver. Health, plus 400. Defense, plus 30. Constitution, plus 15. Type, armor. Level requirement, 10. Additional effect, physical damage reduction plus 3%. Additional effect, after receiving an attack, it will automatically counterattack with poison. It will cause 5 points of true damage to the target every second. Duration, 20 seconds. It can cause poison to a maximum of 10 targets at the same time. Introduction, a poisonous armor that can automatically counterattack the enemy. This was a silver-grade equipment. Although its attributes were worse than Lorne's Sage set, it was still great. Especially with the additional special effect, this poison counterattack could give the main defensive tank an excellent clearing ability. At the same time, on the other side, Twinkle Rose and the others finally picked up the bronze coins that were scattered on the ground. They made preparations and tried to catch up to Lorne. But at that moment, a system notification sounded in everyone's ears. Ding! Congratulations, your team member Tyrant has successfully killed the boss Poisonous Salamander King. Current dungeon completion level, 50%. Hearing this notification, the useless members of the team could not remain calm. They had only cleaned up the battlefield for a few minutes, but Tyrant had already killed the next boss? How was this possible? Is he really cheating? Twinkle Rose bit her lip in disbelief. It should be known that their Silver Snow Guild, and even the top guilds in the world, could not even defeat the hard difficulty monsters. However, Tyrant killed the boss in just a few minutes? How can such an important virtual game allow cheating to happen? Little girl, you have to believe in our leader's strength. Super Rich, who had climbed up from the bottom until he became a tycoon, had never believed in those illusory things. In his eyes, any success had a reason and was closely related to other people's efforts. But his words elicited scorn from Twinkle Rose. He was so rich, but he had to be a bootlicker. He was hopeless. At this moment, there was a message from Lorne on the team channel. The boss dropped a mediocre equipment. Does anyone want it? With that, he hung up a picture of the equipment. When Twinkle Rose saw it, her mouth widened. This was actually a silver-grade equipment. Furthermore, its attributes were so powerful. If the tank wore this equipment to farm monsters, the efficiency of leveling up would increase by at least 20%. It was such a top-grade silver-grade equipment. In the mouth of that guy, it was actually a very mediocre equipment. Did he know how to play games? I want it. Twinkle Rose was the first to speak. The Silver Snow Guild offers 60,000 Alliance dollars. At this stage, the highest price for bronze equipment was 10,000 Alliance dollars. Because only bosses would drop silver-grade equipment, the price was extremely expensive. The lowest price was about 50,000. Twinkle Rose offered 60,000 Alliance dollars, which was already far beyond the market price. But how could others not try to buy the equipment? A knight in the team directly said, 65,000. I'll pay 70,000. Another person also spoke. The price of the equipment immediately increased to 70,000. However, none of them wanted to give up. Twinkle Rose gritted her teeth and continued bidding, reaching 90,000 in one go. Increasing the price bit by bit would only make the price higher and higher. It was better to directly increase the price by tens of thousands and display her determination and desire. This way, the group of buyers who did not have much money would immediately choose to give up. Twinkle Rose's thoughts were clear. This move was indeed hard for the other two to withstand. After all, the normal price of a silver-grade equipment was only about 50,000. If they increased the price, it would be twice the price of equipment. They were not extravagant to this extent. Seeing that the two of them were speechless, the beautiful guild leader was overjoyed. She even thought of the scene of wearing this equipment and farming monsters crazily in the future. At this moment, Super Rich, who had been silent, asked weakly. Is this equipment very powerful? Super Rich was a newbie in the game. He did not understand the value of this equipment, so he asked. Twinkle Rose looked around as if she did not hear him. No matter what, she would not explain. After all, this guy had spent $500,000 on the global chat. If he was interested, it would be hard to obtain the equipment. The other two did not dare to offend the Silver Snow Guild because of this, so they did not speak. Seeing that no one spoke, Twinkle Rose felt that victory was in her grasp. But at this critical moment, Lorne, the auctioneer, appeared at an inappropriate moment. Very impressive. Lorne explained, the top equipment at this stage in the game are bronze grade. Silver equipment is the peak at this time period. Moreover, this equipment has high defense and automatic poison damage functions. It can make up for the lack of skill and maintain a high farming efficiency. I see. Super Rich suddenly realized something. I want this equipment. I'll pay 100,000 Alliance dollars. 100,000? Hearing this price, the other two looked at each other. This was the difference between them and a super tycoon. Looking at him, bidding 100,000 was as simple as drinking water. There was no need to think. At the side, Twinkle Rose also bit her red lips. She wished she could kill that scoundrel tyrant. It was already a huge loss for her to buy an equipment for 90,000, but this scoundrel actually wanted to earn more. He did not even care about a girl's wallet. He was simply too evil. How horrible. She was supposed to spend the money on some cosmetics. I'll pay 110,000. Twinkle Rose bit her lips and said angrily. I'm a natural beauty. I don't need much cosmetics. But then. Super Rich added plainly, then I'll round it up to 200,000. Pfft. The three allies beside him suffered heavy internal injuries. At this moment, they finally understood what it meant to be extravagantly inhumane. Chapter 43, Merge. Source of poison. The commotion of snatching equipment quickly stopped, and Twinkle Rose was also stopped by the price of 200,000 Alliance dollars. A level 10 silver grade equipment could shock people even if it was sold for $100,000. If it was $200,000, everyone who heard the news would probably feel their scalps tingle. As everyone gradually entered the next segment, an even more astonishing sight greeted him. The area in front that looked like a battle arena was actually filled with spoils of war and piled up together, like a small glowing mountain. No way, he also killed hundreds of elite monsters too. Twinkle Rose felt her mouth go dry. She had always thought that Tyrant had killed a boss alone in these 10 minutes. But who knew that the result would be so terrifying? Not only had Tyrant killed a single boss, but he had also killed hundreds of elite monsters. At this moment, everyone was confused. They could not believe what they were seeing. Only Super Rich stood at the side and said with a rueful expression, "Leader is indeed the leader. His strength far exceeds everyone's imagination." Tisk, you damned bootlicker! Twinkle Rose glared at him. She really could not understand. He was clearly a super tycoon in reality. How could he be willing to be a simp in the game? In fact, he was simping a man. A few minutes later, the few of them cleaned up the battlefield. Because the loot here was relatively concentrated, it was picked up relatively quickly. They continued forward. After passing through the poisonous pool, they saw another speechless scene. There were hundreds of corpses in front of them. At least a third of them were bronze monsters. How absurd! Twinkle Rose was speechless. If they were facing this monster, they might need to fight one for a long time. She really did not know what Tyrant had done to be able to farm so quickly. There were 4 of them cleaning up the battlefield, but they could not beat Tyrant's clear speed alone. It was too uncomfortable. At the same time, deep in the valley, Lorne gathered the materials that had dropped from the ground and stepped on the corpses of the monsters into a very special area. This was a circular cave with 8 caves around it. Every once in a while, a random cave would produce a large number of monsters. He had to get rid of these monsters as soon as possible, or else the monsters in the field would increase and soon drown him. Fire of Death, rain of arrows. Currently, only small artillery had a AoE skill, so it was the main attacker here. With its high attack power, the first 5 waves of monsters were cleared very easily. However, as the monsters' attributes increased and their numbers grew, the damage dealt by small artillery was already somewhat insufficient. With his current pets, there was no way for Lorne to clear out the monsters before the next wave arrived. No, I have to replace the Minotaur. Lorne frowned. Now that the team was short of damage, they needed another DPS to quickly clear the monsters. With that in mind, Lorne looked at one of the undead archers. Although he did not have the fire material on him now, he had obtained some poison after killing the poisonous Salamander King. He could use it to create a poison archer to make up for the team's lack of damage. It should be effective. Without hesitation, Lorne activated his talent and placed a dying undead archer into the formula. Then, he took out the poison sac of the poisonous Salamander King from his bag and put it into the formula. Soon, the synthesis formula was created. Ding! A prototype material and a body part material have been confirmed. The synthesis formula is, Undead Archer, plus, Poison Sac of the Poisonous Salamander King, equals. The cost is 1 gold coin. Would you like to merge? The formula appeared and Lorne was pleasantly surprised. The cost of this synthesis was also 1 gold coin, which meant that the quality of the final product was no different from the Fire of Death. There was a high chance that it would be a silver monster. Now, it was up to the final compatibility level. If the superiority was high, then passing this trial would be very easy. With that in mind, Lorne made up his mind. The next moment, a familiar light enveloped the undead archer. Soon, a pleasant reminder sounded in Lorne's ear. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the silver monster, source of poison. With that, what appeared before Lorne was an undead in tattered clothes. Dark green poison fog rose from its body, making it look very unique. Source of poison, contract possible. Grade, silver. Level, 1, 0/1500. HP, 2100/2100. Physical attack, 180 to 260. Defense, 70. Superiority, 90%. Skills, Rapid Fire, Frenzied Shooting. Skill, Poisonous Rain of Arrows, fire countless arrows at the target location, 10 × 10 yards. The arrows will continuously release poison. Each second, there will be an additional stack, up to 5 stacks. Each layer of poison will deal 5 points of true damage. Duration, 10 seconds. Skill, Poisonous Arrow, all arrows will release poison for 5 seconds. Range, 2x2, up to 5 stacks. Poison effect is the same as above, but attack speed -50% after activation of the skill. Introduction. Indeed, this monster's attributes were identical to the Fire of Death. The only difference were the skill effects. The Fire of Death dealt damage instantly. As for the poison attribute, it provided sustained damage over time. What Lorne cared about now was the true damage of source of poison. Although its level was low, the additional poison effect was very powerful. Even in its level 1 state, it could deal excellent damage against the monster in front of it. Poisonous Rain of Arrows. At Lorne's command, source of poison drew its dark green bow. In the next second, countless poisonous arrows descended from the sky, enveloping the monsters in front. The damage from the arrow hitting the monsters was not high. But most important, the arrows were all emitting green poison, which affected all the monsters that passed. Under 5 stacks of poison, it could cause 25 points of damage per second. After 10 seconds, it would deal a total of 250 points of damage. In terms of output, it was definitely not inferior to the Fire of Death. With it, Lorne's team had twice the combat strength. With such damage output, it was easy to pass the round. Swish! 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 Lorne stood in the center, commanding his pets to take advantage of the situation. The savage bronze monsters could do nothing to him. A few minutes later, Lorne stepped on a pile of bones and followed the dungeon's instructions into a dark cave. He followed the dark stairs and finally arrived at a huge and strange dark hall. Chapter 44, Undead Mage. Slam. 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 The moment he stepped in, countless voices sounded. 5 meters above, dozens of torches burned fiercely. With the help of the dark green light, Lorne saw the true appearance of the fire sources. They were the heads of ferocious beasts. At the same time, the flames lit up the entire hall. There were no other monsters here, only a coffin in the center of the hall. It was suspended in midair by 4 thick chains. There was a scarlet magic circle under it, and the patterns on it were like blood. At this moment, they were emitting red blood energy that gathered towards the coffin above. Such a strange scene was obviously not normal. Lorne moved a little closer, Rimuru beside him, ready to defend him against any potential danger. 2 archers stood on each side, their bows in their hands as they guarded the surroundings. When everyone was close enough. Suddenly. Phew! A strange wind swept through the entire hall. Then, they gathered at the bottom of the coffin, forming a strange tornado. It gathered the scarlet blood energy and even the red runes on the ground, finally infusing them into the coffin in midair. Then, everything went calm. It was as if nothing had happened. Thinking that he had to get close enough to trigger the subsequent scene, Lorne walked over. But at that moment, a scythe made entirely of white bones descended from the sky. Clang! The bone scythe landed on the path Lorne took, the blade stabbing into the hard ground. Then, black fog enveloped the surroundings, and a pair of scarlet eyes floated in midair. The white bone scythe on the ground trembled and flew into the sky. A dark, withered hand seized the scythe. Lorne could not help but take a few steps back. Following his pupils, he could see a huge figure. It was a black-robed undead mage. Undead Mage Soul. Grade, Boss. Level, 10. HP, 67,500/67,500. Magic Attack, 320 to 450. Physical Defense, 120. Magic Defense, 120. Skills, Death Confinement, Undead Summoning, Undead Blessing, Undead Absorption, Death Scythe. Introduction: once a powerful mage of the Empire, he died unfortunately in the war. Later, his soul was awakened by the power of darkness and became a puppet that only knew how to kill. Anyone who came close to its territory would be torn to pieces. From the interface, although this was also an ordinary level 10 boss, its attributes were anything but normal. An attack limit of 450 points was stronger than any enemy that Lorne had encountered so far. However, it could not escape the fate of being killed. Lorne was not about to let it go. Rimuru, draw the aggro of the boss. Small artillery, rapid fire. Lorne quickly gave the order, then hid far away, using his authority to control the fire of death to activate the skill. The bow was drawn like a full moon. In an instant, 5 flaming arrows burst from its hands. -319. -315. -297. -301. -299. The undead mage's defense was not high, so Lorne dealt a considerable amount of damage with one skill. At this moment, Source of Poison also drew its bow and fired countless arrows. However, it was only level 1 and could only deal about a third of the damage of small artillery. On the other hand, Little Mantis's damage output was on par with little artillery in close combat. However, unfortunately, it needed to dodge the boss counterattack, so it could not deal as much damage. As for Rimuru, who was responsible for absorbing damage output was not its strength. The 200 to 300 damage output could basically be ignored. Even so, in just a few seconds, the 4 pets dealt nearly 4,000 damage. To the current players, this was simply unimaginable damage. Come out, undead wandering in the world. Seeing that its health had decreased by a large amount, the boss undead mage clenched its dry fingers. The next moment, countless mounds appeared. Then, undead creatures broke out of the ground. It was a group of skeletal warriors. Their entire bodies were rotting. With their blades and shields in hand, they charged at Lorne. Rain of arrows. Lorne did not dare to be careless. He quickly commanded the two undead archers to use their AoE skills, and countless arrows covered the ground. In an instant, red skill damage, purple magic damage, and white true damage floated in the air. There were more than 100 of them. Those skeleton monsters were only creatures that had been summoned. Their health points were not high. After taking 2 waves of rain of arrows, their health points had already decreased by half. Little Mantis, clean up the remaining monsters. Lorne did not let the monsters affect his damage output. He commanded the Mantis to clear the monsters. Then, he moved quickly and controlled small artillery to focus on dealing damage. Arrows burning with flames bombarded the undead mage non-stop. The upper limit of 455 attack points was vividly displayed at this moment, and a magnificent damage output feast was played under Lorne's command. Facing such constant attacks, the boss figure trembled repeatedly. Its health decreased by 10,000 points in the blink of an eye. But at that moment, the undead mage waved its hand and roared, "Lowly undead, offer up your souls." As soon as it finished speaking, balls of light emerged from the summoned monsters and poured into the undead mage. Almost in the next second, its health points returned to full. This effect came from one of his skills. Undead Absorption. The undead mage will recall the souls summoned to heal itself. Each undead can heal 200 HP. This self-healing boss was the most troublesome opponent. Fortunately, Lorne's pets had enough damage output to deal with the current situation. As for earlier, it was only because Lorne wanted to farm the monsters later that the boss had the opportunity. However, as long as he arranged for them to clear the monsters, the situation would be much simpler. With a plan in mind, Lorne was more confident. When the undead mage's health decreased by about 5,000 points again, it began another round of summoning. "Come out, undead wandering in the world." Another dozens of mounds appeared, and dozens of monsters walked out. This time, Lorne did not let them wander. Instead, he turned the arrow and quickly cleaned up the monsters that wandered on the ground. -437. -433. -441. -425. -870. Critical. Under the high attack speed and AoE skills, the monsters were quickly wiped out. Without the small monsters to heal it, this boss was basically helpless. Because of the summoning skill, it had very few active offensive skills. It was impossible to turn the situation around with just undead confinement. Instead, Lorne's damage output was very obvious. In the midst of the extremely fast shooting, the flaming arrows were like cannonballs that bombarded the boss crazily, quickly reducing its health. Chapter 45, Spatial Node, Unforeseen Event. -427. -421. -413. -405. -425. A series of high damage numbers floated in the air. Against Lorne's attack, the undead mage could not fight back. Its health points decreased rapidly like running water. But Lorne's attacks did not stop. Arrows shot out constantly, making him look like a emotionless shooting machine. In this case, after a series of wild shots, the undead mage's health had fallen to less than 10,000 points. However, at this moment, the boss, who felt that its life was in danger, finally changed its attack style. "Foolish human brat, see how powerful the death scythe is." The boss let out an angry roar. With that, it walked out of the black fog. The huge bone scythe in its hand was also wrapped in a layer of black light. Death Scythe. The undead mage swings the scythe and turns into a close combat fighter. Attack range increases by 100%, attack speed increases by 100%, attack damage increases by 100%, and is immune to 30% of damage. This was clearly the boss' ultimate move. Lorne could feel the powerful pressure of the bone scythe. With double the damage, only one slash was needed to take his life. Especially with the terrifying double attack range. This effect was very fatal to players, because it was very difficult to determine their safe location. If they were not careful, they might die by the hands of the other party. Rimuru, block it! Lorne did not continue controlling small artillery, but instead focused on dodging. This boss had already placed all its attention on him, so he had to dodge seriously. Fortunately, when he added points, he treated agility as his main attribute. Coupled with the stats from equipment, Lorne's current speed was not slower than the boss. As long as he controlled the rhythm, he could easily kite the boss. With unusual calm, Lorne began leading the undead mage around the room, perfectly keeping the distance between them at about 30 yards. This was a relatively safe distance. Other than archers, it was difficult for other classes to hit such a long-range target. Furthermore, this was a melee-type undead mage. With a roar, it held the scythe and charged at Lorne, bent on slicing him in half. Unfortunately, that plan did not succeed. With Rimuru blocking it, it could not get within 10 yards of Lorne. Instead, during this period of chasing, it had suffered too many attacks. Its health decreased rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it was below 5%. It could be merged now. Lorne made everyone stop, then activated his talent skill at the boss. However, this time, something unexpected happened. Ding! This monster is in a special state. It cannot be synthesized as a prototype. An indecipherable notification popped up. This was the first time that Lorne had encountered such a situation. Special state. Seeing this, Lorne finally noticed the name of the boss. It said, Undead Mage Soul, as if it was only a controlled soul and not a complete monster. Lorne did not know if that was the reason. But he did not think too much about it. Since he could not treat this boss as a prototype, he would kill it and get the body part material. After all, it was a bronze-grade boss. The materials dropped would definitely not be ordinary. Without thinking, Lorne ordered his pets to kill it. After a series of shots from small artillery, Little Mantis, who was wandering near the undead mage, quickly stepped forward. Its sickle-like arms slashed out countless sword lights that covered the boss. The final scythe tore through its throat, ending the brutal battle. -860. Critical. A scarlet-colored critical damage floated out, and the undead mage's health was completely emptied. It lost its vitality and became a pile of rotting bones. At this moment, a ball of white and a ball of black energy spread out from the skeleton. The white energy only quietly emitted light, calm and peaceful. However, the ball of black light transformed into the shape of a demon's head. It struggled in the air, as if it were on the verge of collapse. It let out a hysterical roar at Lorne, "Damn you, human brat! How dare you offend the great necromancer, Hall! Just you wait, one day, I'll tear you into pieces! How noisy!" Before it could finish, Lorne waved his short staff and shattered the evil soul. It was already dead, why did it have to say so much nonsense? With that in mind, he grabbed the ball of white light. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the material, a cleansed pure soul. This was a body part material? Lorne was surprised at his harvest. This was because the materials he had obtained previously were mostly parts of the monster's body. But now, he had obtained a soul. It seemed that there were many forms of synthesis materials, and there were countless possibilities for the synthesis of monsters. Everything had just begun. There are no other loot. Lorne looked at the skeleton of the undead mage, but there was not a single bronze coin around. Moreover, the dungeon notification did not appear. Was there a special situation? Lorne recalled what the Light Priestess Laisha had said. It seemed that there was something special hidden in this dungeon. But this seemed to be the end. Apart from the coffin, there was nothing to note. With that in mind, Lorne carefully walked in its direction. Only this coffin was suspicious. However, when he was close enough, something like an air wall blocked his path. At the same time, a notification appeared in front of him. Ding! Warning! Unable to approach. The spatial node has not been completely opened. Spatial node? Lorne saw another strange phrase. If he was not mistaken, this was the information that Priestess Laisha wanted. Should I destroy it? Lorne thought that might be his mission. Since it was an arrangement by the Dark Abyss faction, it must be disadvantageous to the human empire. If he could destroy it, it should be a meritorious deed. Moreover, this dungeon could only be entered once. If he ignored this magic circle, it might really bring disaster to the surrounding forces. With that in mind, Lorne ordered his pets to destroy the array under the coffin. Small artillery's black bow was drawn directly, and an arrow burning with undead flames instantly shot at the center of the magic circle, destroying the runes in the magic circle. But at that moment, suddenly, a powerful and strange force descended. All the flames in the hall were instantly extinguished, and the entire hall fell into deathly silence. Chapter 46, Descent. Dragon of Darkness. In the Valley of the Dead, Twinkle Rose and the others, who were still cleaning up the loot in the valley, were entering the region with 8 caves. They were used to the pile of glowing equipment. No one was as excited as before. After all, these loot were not theirs. Twinkle Rose sighed and prepared to pick up a bronze equipment from the ground. At that moment, she suddenly blacked out. An ear-piercing reminder sounded. Ding! An unknown powerful existence has descended nearby. You are suppressed by its aura and thus received the following debuff: minus 90% HP, minus 90% attack, minus 90% defense, minus 100% movement speed. As the voice sounded, their bodies froze. They realized that they could not move at all. Moreover, even their attributes had fallen to the limit at this moment. What happened? What happened? Twinkle Rose used her lively eyes to survey her surroundings. However, her vision was blocked, making it impossible to see her surroundings. Could something have happened in the valley? The night player in the team wondered. Another person answered, it must be. This isn't good. The leader is still farming monsters. He must have encountered something. Super Rich quickly opened the team channel and said, Leader, we can't move. Is everything okay over there? We're all worried about you. Who's worried about him? Don't talk nonsense, you bootlicker. Twinkle Rose grumbled, but she was also thinking about what had happened. She also wanted to know what had happened to Lorne. In the deepest part of the valley, the same notification sounded in the hall. Feeling his own condition, Lorne was stunned. He could not understand what was happening. An existence that could instantly make him lose all attributes with just its aura. Could it be that a god had descended? Or rather, the guy hiding in the spatial node? That was possible. To be summoned so secretly, he was definitely not an ordinary existence. Just as he was thinking this, suddenly, flames burst forth. 5 meters up, the flames that had already been extinguished suddenly ignited again. But this time, it was not dark green flames. It was the even more peculiar black. The light emitted by these black flames was very faint, but at the same time, it made one feel an intense chill. Almost the moment it appeared, the entire hall's temperature fell to a freezing point. Puny human. An icy female voice sounded in the hall, bringing with it the pressure of a superior being, and an aura that made people not dare to look up. Lorne trembled slightly. It was not because he was afraid, but because he was not accustomed to the sudden drop in temperature. After all, he was a player, and death was not the most terrifying thing. The moment he heard the voice, Lorne looked up. In the next moment, his pupils dilated several times. He was shocked by the scene before him. It was because Lorne saw a hideous dragon head. The fangs in it were as thick as his entire body. Two scarlet eyes stared at him, as if they wanted to look at him from head to toe. Giant dragon. A black giant dragon. It was 100 meters long and covered the entire hall. In the dark shadows, huge dragon wings could be seen waving. You're strange. Despite such weak strength, you can actually summon so many strange creatures. Looks like you have a huge secret on you. A hint of curiosity appeared in the black dragon's eyes. It seemed to be very interested in Lorne's ability to summon strange creatures. It said in a proud and cold female voice, "In that case, I, the Dragon of Darkness, Doris, will give you a chance to join the Dark Legion. I will promise to make you a powerful dark summoner." Ding! System notification, Dragon of Darkness, Doris, invites you to defect to the Dark faction and promises to grant you the hidden class Dark Summoner. Do you agree? System notification, after agreeing, you will automatically join the Dark faction and be despised and hunted by all the Light faction. System notification, the Dragon of Darkness, Doris, is extremely savage. If she hears any defiant answer, you will be brutally killed by her. Please make a decision carefully. A series of notifications appeared. However, Lorne felt a headache. He had been doing well in the human faction. Not only did he have so many powerful pets, but he had also formed a relationship with the Light Priestess, Laisha. He was about to receive the reward when he suddenly got forced to defect and join the dark side? Wasn't this too much? To be honest, Lorne did not like the style of the dark faction. Thinking about the scene he saw when he entered the Valley of the Dead, it was unbearable. If he joined the dark faction, wouldn't he be surrounded by disgusting monsters all the time? No. Absolutely not. Lorne did not want to be alone in that situation. However, he did not dare to reject her directly. The system notification said very clearly that as long as he rejected her, he would definitely be harmed by Doris. If he was killed by the Black Dragon with a single slap, he might fail the dungeon mission and even fail the mission given to him by Laisha. This was too great a loss for him to bear. He could only stall for time. He only hoped that the leader of the Light faction would discover the Dragon of Darkness who had intruded into the territory of the Empire and rush here to save him. A rare hidden class. In the meantime, Lorne checked the benefits. The result was indeed attractive. This was a rare hidden class in the Summoner series. The class effect was very powerful. The skills were also several times stronger than ordinary summoners, or even 10 times as much. If not for the monster merging simulator in his hand, he might have really agreed to the other party's request. It was just that the bonus of a hidden class was too tempting for a player. Human, don't challenge the dragon's patience. Make your choice quickly. The Dragon of Darkness, Doris, said impatiently. Its huge eyes emitted a cold killing intent, as if it would kill Lorne if he did not answer in the next second. Lorne frowned and smiled bitterly. It seemed that he was really going to die today. Forget it, so be it. It was impossible to join the dark side. After all, he was a young man filled with righteousness. Lorne made up his mind. He stared helplessly at Doris who was about to erupt and quietly waited for death to arrive. But at that moment, buzz! An incomparably brilliant light descended into the hall, illuminating everything with a holy aura. Chapter 47, Divine Radiance Prelude. Ding! An unknown powerful existence has descended nearby. You are suppressed by its aura and thus received the following debuff: minus 90% HP, minus 90% attack, minus 90% defense, minus 100% movement speed. The 4 teammates in the valley received another notification. Just like before, this time, they received the same negative effects. This made them even more confused. Why is there another one? What happened inside? Leader is indeed the leader. He's different from others even when farming dungeons. What is Tyrant doing? Twinkle Rose frowned. She wished she could rush to the deepest part of the valley and see the scene clearly, but she could not do so now. She could not even raise a finger. At this moment, a few teammates were asking about the situation in the team channel. But Lorne had no time to answer them. Because in this hall, another incomparably huge golden dragon appeared. On the body of this golden dragon, there was a holy and pure light. The huge golden dragon wings flapped, completely dispelling the cold in the hall. Its huge body occupied the other half of the hall. It was high up and extremely holy. Lorne looked over and saw a name above him. Dragon of Light, Haymat. Dragon of Light? Was it the god of the Church of Light? Lorne had not expected to see the supreme divine dragon here. Doris, why aren't you staying in your dark dragon abyss? Why have you come to the human empire? The Dragon of Light spoke in an extremely calm voice, but it did not sound like it hated evil. The tone was more like meeting a good friend and giving the most basic greeting. Do I need to report to you wherever I go? There was no fear in her tone. But Lorne could see that her strength could not resist the light dragon's suppression. The shadows around Doris were also corroded by the holy light power. No matter how hard she resisted, she could not grasp any more space. At this moment, the light dragon was still releasing its power, and the holy light was becoming more and more magnificent. Doris could not hold on any more. You're just relying on the thousands of years of faith. Doris snorted, then began to back away. In the domain of the human empire, she was no match for Haymat, not to mention that this was just an avatar of hers now. However, before leaving, she could not help but look at Lorne and say coldly, "Damn human brat, this king will remember you." With that, Doris flapped her wings, opened a spatial door, and vanished from the sealed hall. At this moment, Lorne received a notification. Ding! You have received the attention of the Dragon of Darkness, Doris. You have received a negative buff, Mark of Darkness. Hearing this notification, Lorne felt a headache. It was fine if the Dragon of Darkness left, but why did she have to give himself a negative buff before she left? Was she a sore loser? Mark of Darkness, buff. Effect 1, all dark creatures deal plus 20% damage to you. Effect 2, you deal plus 20% damage to all dark creatures. Effect 3, due to the fact that this mark is stained with the aura of the Dragon of Darkness, it has a suppressive effect on all low-level dragons. All attributes minus 10%. Description: the Dragon of Darkness, Doris, is staring at you. As long as she is within a certain range, she will be able to sense your location. Is this a negative buff? Lorne thought he had seen wrong. Although the dark creatures could harm him more, he could do the same to them. If he compared it, it would not be considered a loss, right? Moreover, the effect of this buff was not only limited to that. Its third effect was most interesting. It could actually threaten the low-level dragons and even reduce their attributes by 10%. One had to know that these were dragons. Their attributes were all very powerful. Reducing the attributes of a dragon by 10% was a terrifying number. Did she fall for me? Lorne felt that she had a good impression of him, or else she would not have given him such a huge gift when she left. At this moment, the Dragon of Light, Haymat, said, "Young adventurer, you have been marked by the aura of the Dragon of Darkness. Let me help you cleanse it." What? Cleanse it? No, no need for that. Lorne quickly shook his head and said respectfully, "Honorable Dragon God, thank you for your kindness, but I do not want to remove this mark like this. As a new adventurer, I want it to always be by my side, reminding me that there is still a powerful enemy targeting me from the outside world. I didn't expect you to have such resolution." The Dragon of Light's majestic gaze became much gentler. It approved of the adventurer's will, and said, "Young adventurer, your courage is commendable. It has been a long time since the Church of Light has had an adventurer join us. If you are willing to join the Church of Light, find it in the main city. I will give you a chance to approach the divine radiance." With that, a mission panel appeared in front of Lorne with a pleasant reminder. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the recognition of the Dragon of Light and obtaining an epic mission, Divine Radiance Prelude. Do you accept it? Mission hint: this mission is very difficult. Failure to complete the mission will affect the Dragon of Light's opinion of you. Please make a careful decision. Prompt: the Church of Light is located in the main city of any human empire. An epic mission? Lorne was stunned by the surprise. In Divine Realm, epic was a very high-level term. The rewards for an epic mission were extremely rich and could allow one to surpass all the players at this stage. Of course, the difficulty of an epic mission was beyond imagination. To complete the mission, one needed to have immense strength. Lorne had never doubted his strength. If this was a mission that even he could not complete, then no one in this world could complete it. Therefore, he did not hesitate. "I will definitely go," Lorne answered firmly. This attitude made the Dragon of Light very pleased. It said, "You did not disappoint me. I will wait for you to come. In addition, before you leave, let me give you a greeting gift. Thank you for your contribution to the light." With that, the Dragon of Light flapped its wings, and a holy light poured over Lorne as it left the hall. Chapter 48, Global Shock. Nightmare Dungeon cleared. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the Divine Power Baptism of the Dragon of Light. All attributes plus 10. Congratulations on obtaining the Dragon of Light's gift, Sage's Magic Robe, Silver. Congratulations on obtaining the Blessing of the Dragon of Light, Luck plus 2. Congratulations on obtaining the Dragon of Light's gift, Dragon Race of Order, Reputation plus 100. A series of notifications sounded. Looking at the dazzling rewards, Lorne was too touched. This Dragon of Light was too good to him. It wanted to help him clear the mark of darkness from the beginning. Then, it issued an epic mission. When it left in the end, it even gave him 4 rewards. Each of these 4 rewards was very extraordinary in value. Especially the final reputation points of the dragon race, this was something that one could not obtain no matter how much money they spent. After giving the rewards, the Dragon of Light left. The floating coffin was illuminated by the holy light and completely lost its effect. At the same time, time began to flow again in the hall. The corpse of the dead undead mage dropped equipment all over the ground, spilling various loot. The dungeon clear notification that had not appeared all this time sounded at this moment. Ding! Global announcement: congratulations Tyrant's team for successfully killing the boss, the undead mage, and for completing the first clear of the Nightmare Dungeon. You have done a great deed and are now in the annals of history. Ding! Global announcement: congratulations to the 5 members of Tyrant's team, Tyrant, Leader, Twinkle Rose, Member, Super Rich, Member, and they will receive free attribute points plus 10, reputation plus 1,000, EXP plus 10,000, gold coins plus 10, luck plus 1, and bronze treasure chest x3. Ding! Global announcement: congratulations Tyrant's team for obtaining the first clear of the Nightmare Dungeon. Reward: Silver Treasure Chest x2, Hellhound Summoning, Orange Skill Book. Ding! 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 All the announcements sounded in the players' ears 3 times. When they heard the contents of the announcement, all the players in the world were shocked. In the Federation. In the Eastern region. In a certain Grade 1 energy base city. At the headquarters of the Creation God Guild. As the most powerful guild in the Eastern region, the Creation God Guild was jointly created by 6 large corporations. At the beginning of the establishment of this guild, the 6 large corporations had gathered $10 billion alliance dollars to use it to rope in all the online gaming experts in the world. Therefore, although it had just been created, it still had the strength to compete with the strongest guilds in the world. At this moment, in the core base of the Creation God Guild, the top 10 players of the guild were all in the high-level game cabin. They controlled their characters and began the dungeon challenge mission. Their goal was to pass the hard difficulty dungeon and prove themselves to the world. Moreover, the 6 large corporations were considering whether to continue injecting funds. As for how much funds they would give, it would depend on the results of the competition between them and the other guilds in the world. Therefore, in today's dungeon challenge, the higher UPS of the Creation God Guild all had great determination. In the conference room, the higher UPS of the guild were watching the progress of the game. When everyone saw that the 5 guilds had used all their strength to pass the 7th wave of monsters, the entire conference room was filled with cheers. Yes! We succeeded! Long live the Creation God! Great, we've succeeded before the rest of the entire world! Everyone was abnormally excited. This was because their information showed that the other guilds were still stuck at 50% progress. No one had reached 70% progress. This meant that they were infinitely close to obtaining the first clear of the hard difficulty dungeon before all the guilds succeeded. If they completed this goal, not only would the guild be able to prove their strength to the world, but they would also be able to obtain $60 billion from the 6 major corporations. The Creation God Guild would then walk towards glory and become a legend in the divine realm. Thinking of this, all the higher UPS were abnormally excited. But at that moment, an announcement banner suddenly appeared on the projection screen of the meeting room. Ding! Global announcement: congratulations Tyrant's team for successfully killing the boss, the Undead Mage, and for completing the first clear of the Nightmare Dungeon. You have done a great deed and are now in the annals of history. Ding! Ding! The huge announcement sounded 3 times. The smiles on the faces of all the higher UPS of the Creation God Guild and the visiting members of the 6 major corporations froze. They stared at the announcement in disbelief, as if they had seen a ghost. Nightmare level. It said nightmare. How is this possible? The confident higher UPS of the guild scratched their heads in disbelief. The information was clearly stated that the other guilds barely made it past 50%. Why did someone suddenly complete the Nightmare Dungeon? How can this be? The president of the Creation God Guild did not believe everything that was happening. Even if he saw it with his own eyes, he could not accept such an outcome. 60 billion. A second ago, he still felt that he was about to succeed. In the next second, he was sent directly to hell, and the $60 billion was gone. Go and investigate. Find this tyrant no matter where he is. In the western region of the Federation, in an underground base, there were tens of thousands of high-level game cabins. Countless selected soldiers lay inside and entered the game. This was a game base secretly built by the Western region's military. Because of some secret information from the Federation, they organized some troops to enter the game. The rumors about virtual reality on the internet were not groundless. In a sense, this situation was likely to be realized. Therefore, they valued this game very much. However, because the World Federation did not advocate war now, any thoughts regarding fighting had to be carried out secretly. It was because of this that their base was set up so secretly, and even on the surface, it was hidden by the private enterprise groups. The Creation God Guild in the Eastern region still thinks that we're stopped at 50% progress. What a joke! In fact, we've already reached 80% progress. With just 1 or 2 days, we can definitely obtain the first clear of the hard difficulty dungeon. Colonel Mathagus, the head of the underground base, smiled. The combat skills of the special forces were not something ordinary people could compare to, especially in virtual games. Right now, he was confident that his army could definitely obtain the reward of the first clear before everyone else and quickly increase the strength of the guild. With that in mind, Colonel Mathagus laughed. He seemed to see the goddess of victory waving at him. At this moment, a series of grand system notifications suddenly sounded in the office. Ding! Global announcement: congratulations Tyrant's team for successfully killing the boss, the Undead Mage, and for completing the first clear of the Nightmare Dungeon. You have done a great deed and are now in the annals of history. Ding! Ding! Upon seeing the word nightmare, Colonel Mathagus was immediately dumbfounded. He sat down on the chair with a blank expression and could not recover from his shock. Chapter 49, Orange Skill. Hellhound Summoning. Because Divine Realm was released by the World Federation and was directly linked to real money, the virtual game received worldwide attention. Today, because of the sudden announcement, all the players in the world were riled up. Almost everyone was searching for information regarding Tyrant. On the various search platforms, the search numbers for terms like Tyrant's team and Nightmare First Clear suddenly increased by tens of thousands of times. On the forum, there were thousands of topics discussing Tyrant. Everyone wanted to know his true identity. But in the end, there was no result. No one knew who Tyrant was. They only knew that he had used more than half an hour to clear the most difficult Nightmare Mode dungeon of Divine Realm and create an impossible legend. Ding! You used 10,500 experience points to raise your pet Fire of Death, Small Artillery, to level 5. You used 13,500 experience points to raise your pet to level 6. You used 16,500 experience points to raise your pet to level 7. You used 19,500 experience points to raise your pet to level 8. You used 22,500 experience points to raise your pet to level 9. You used 25,500 experience points to raise your pet to level 10. Prompt: the pet is unable to surpass the level of the summoner. Please try to level up. In the dungeon hall, Lorne obtained a large amount of experience, which he used to level up his pets. The level of Small Artillery directly reached 10, which cost a total of 108,000 experience points. However, to his surprise, Lorne still had more than 70,000 experience points left. This was because the first clear reward earlier gave him 50,000 experience points. Then, the clearing reward was 10,000 experience points, which added up to 60,000 points. The summoner had a special EXP gain mechanism. With the experience buff of 4 pets, Lorne gained an additional 200% experience. Therefore, in the end, he obtained 180,000 experience points. After leveling the Fire of Death, Lorne gave the remaining 80,000 experience points to Source of Poison. The EXP needed to level up a boss was too great. It was far inferior to the temporary benefits gained from leveling up other pets. Therefore, leaving Rimuru to level up in the end was the best choice. Releasing pets is too costly. If only I had a tool that could extract experience points. Looking at the new pet, Lorne thought of the giant axe Minotaur that had been released. Previously, the Minotaur was level 10, which also consumed a lot of experience. However, because it was released, the EXP on it could not be recovered, so all the EXP was wasted. From this, it could be seen that it was best not to change the pets of summoners too frequently. Otherwise, just the cost of leveling up would make one spend several times more time than other players. There should be information on the related items in the main city. Lorne did not dwell on this issue. He looked at his harvest. Apart from the experience, he also obtained a large number of other rewards. First was the silver treasure chest reward for the first kill. This was the team reward. However, before forming a team, there was a pact. All the rewards in the dungeon belonged to Lorne, so he could directly distribute them. He opened the treasure chest. Immediately, a brilliant silver light shone. The first was a gorgeous longbow that was glowing green. The second piece was a pair of wrist guards. They were made of cloth and had golden patterns on them. They were very exquisite. As the equipment appeared, the system's notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the equipment, Forest Longbow, Silver Grade. Congratulations on obtaining the equipment, Sage's Wisdom Bracer, Silver Grade. An item part of the set. Lorne's eyes lit up. In the second treasure chest, one of the parts of the Sage set appeared. He quickly picked up the equipment. Sage's Wisdom Bracer, Sage Set, 1/7. Quality, Silver. Magic Attack, plus 50. Magic Resistance, plus 20. Spirit, plus 15. Type, Cloth Armor. Level Requirement, 10. Additional Effect, increases MP recovery by 20%. Additional Effect, resists 5% of magic damage. Introduction, the Wisdom Bracer enhanced by a Sage can be of great help to the user. The attributes were very outstanding. He directly equipped it. Ding! The effect of Sage Set has been triggered. Set attributes received, bypass 10 points of magic resistance of the target. Clearly, this was a mage equipment set. There were many magic attributes added, and the set effect reduced magic resistance. It was not so practical for Lorne. After all, as a summoner with powerful pets, protecting his life was his only mission. However, no matter what, this was a silver set. The attributes it brought were superior to any equipment at this stage. In any case, before he obtained stronger equipment, Lorne would definitely not change out of this set. As for the set parts, Lorne took out the gift of the Dragon of Light. There was also a part of the Sage set in there, and it was an even more important magic robe. Sage's Magic Robe, Sage Set, 1/7. Quality, Silver. Health, plus 500. Magic, plus 400. Spirit, plus 20. Type, Cloth Armor. Level Requirement, 10. Additional Effect, increases Constitution by 10 points. Additional Effect, resists 7% physical damage. Introduction, a magic robe enhanced by a Sage. It can be of great help to the user. In ordinary equipment, the attributes of the robe and weapon were higher than other parts. This could be seen from the equipment in front of him. Moreover, the quality of this set equipment was very high. Although it was a cloth armor equipment, the health attribute increase was higher than the previous poisonous armor. Added to this, the 3 parts set effect was triggered, bypass 20 points of magic resistance. According to this pattern, the 7 sets should be able to bypass 280 magic resistance points. Most monsters would not have any defense against it and would just be running around naked. Other than that, there was also a precious reward after the first kill. It was an orange level skill book, Hellhound Summoning. Skill, Hellhound Summoning, orange. Effect, unlocks the Gate of Hell. Summon, level X5, Hellhound, S. Each Hellhound has 20% of the summoner's attributes and will attack the target ahead crazily. Hellhound duration, 30 seconds. Skill cooldown, 300 seconds. Cost, number of Hellhounds X5, MP. Learning requirement, Summoner, level 40. Gasp. Lorne gasped when he saw the effect. It was said that summoners could win by numbers. However, such a scene of summoning dozens of monsters at once was unheard of. Although the attributes of the Hellhounds were not high, their numbers were a Lorne's level X5. If he was at level 10, there would be 50 of them. This huge number was enough to surpass any quality differences. Especially when faced with a large number of enemies, this skill had the effect of changing the situation. However, this skill could only be learned after the summoner reached level 40. It was a terrible feeling. Because Lorne was only level 10 now, he could not learn this skill. Chapter 50, Massive Sales, earning $1 million every day. He had obtained a powerful skill but could not learn it immediately. To be honest, Lorne felt terrible. However, in the end, he could only sigh. This was the rule of the game. It could not be easily broken. Lorne could only focus on the other rewards. For example, the free attribute points. He was given 10 points as the clear reward. However, with all attributes plus 10 from the baptism of divine force bestowed by the Dragon of Light, he basically gained 50 points of stats. After adding the free attribute points in his own way, Lorne's attributes increased significantly again. ID, Tyrant. Class, Apprentice Summoner. Level, 10. Talent, Monster Merging Simulator. HP, 1440/1440, 760. MP, 1300/1300, 850. Magic Attack, 298 to 596, 80. Magic Resistance, 84, 55. Physical Resistance, 93, 26. Speed, 37.8, 4.4. Attributes, Constitution 93, Strength 15, Spirit 65, Intelligence 35, Agility 51. Free Attributes, 0. EXP, 9155. Reputation, 3500. Dragon Race of Order Reputation, 100. Luck, 5. Possession, 20 gold coins, 45 silver coins, 11 bronze coins. These were Lorne's attributes. Compared to his own pet, such attributes were very ordinary. He was inferior to even the lowest quality creature, Little Mantis. However, to the players, such attributes were extremely powerful. Perhaps they wouldn't even dare to imagine that they could have such magnificent attributes at level 10. While checking the attributes of the character, Lorne also glanced at the situation in the pet space. Pet space. Slime King, Alchemy, Rimuru level 5, 0/22500. Death Scythe Mantis, Little Mantis level 10, 0/38000. Fire of Death, Small Artillery level 10, 0/57000. Source of Poison, Venom level 7, 0/19800. If the summoner wanted to change his class successfully, he had to raise all his pets to level 10. Lorne let it go for the moment. Because there were still some equipment left behind by the Undead Mage on the ground. As the final boss of the dungeon, the Undead Mage dropped a lot of equipment. There were 5 bronze items and 2 silver items. Unfortunately, there were no parts of the Sage set among the silver-grade equipment. The attributes were also very ordinary. Lorne did not like these things now, so he threw them into his bag. The enhancement gems are not bad. In addition to the equipment and gold coins, a few transparent gems dropped on the ground. This was a material used to enhance equipment. Unfortunately, they were all bronze-grade gems and could only strengthen bronze-grade items. Lorne was not very interested in them. After all his core equipment was silver-grade, and there was no need to strengthen bronze-grade equipment. He put away all the gems. But at that moment, Twinkle Rose and the others hurriedly rushed into the hall. "Tyrant, what have you done? You actually cleared the Nightmare Dungeon." Twinkle Rose blushed as she looked at Lorne. She had not recovered from the surprise of appearing on a global announcement. Lorne did not know how to answer her, nor did he want to. This was because of the pet's strength. On this issue, he did not want to reveal too much information to others. But Twinkle Rose did not dwell on this issue. Curious, she peeked at the hanging coffin behind Lorne and asked, "Where are the 2 powerful existences?" "They've already left." Lorne casually explained, "That was just the ending story of the dungeon. There was no special situation." Hearing this, Twinkle Rose, who had rich gaming experience, bit her lip and looked pensive. In the end, she left the team and ran near the coffin alone, wanting to find a clue. At this moment, Super Rich looked at Lorne seriously and said with deep meaning, "Leader, you're really too awesome. The speed at which we looted the battlefield is actually slower than the speed at which you farm monsters. This is just basic stuff." Lorne smiled and waved his hand, indicating that this was normal. The knight player in the team poured out the loot that did not belong to him from his bag and suggested, "Tyrant, you can't take all the equipment away from the dungeon. Why don't you sell them to us now?" Hearing this, the eyes of Twinkle Rose, who was still studying the coffin, lit up. She hurried over. Lorne looked at his bag. It was full. This time, there were too many equipment. There were at least 100 white iron items and quite a number of bronze items, at least 20 to 30 in number. However, the players only had 50 units of equipment space. Therefore, long ago, most of the equipment was kept in the bags of other teammates. Now that they had all taken out their equipment, it immediately piled up like a small mountain. Lorne did not care about the white iron and bronze equipment. He directly divided them into 4 portions and let the higher UPS of the guild distribute them. Super Rich bought a few bronze items and did not want anything else. After all, he was a lone player and did not have a guild to support. The portion that he did not want was taken over by the Twinkle Rose. Finally, Lorne made a total of $355,000. This was all because they wanted to curry favor with Lorne, so they offered the highest price in the market. As for the silver-grade equipment, including the 2 items dropped by the Undead Mage and the 1 dropped from the treasure chest, there were a total of 3 silver-grade items. Lorne did not want to keep them. Level 10 equipment would experience a very serious drop in price. The value would decrease by at least 20% every day. Therefore, it was best to make a move as soon as possible. Lorne directly launched an auction to let the rich bosses compete with each other. After several rounds of bidding, the auction finally ended. Forest Longbow, price, 90,000. Silver Light Sword, price, 130,000. Rock Wrist Guard, price, 70,000. The total auction sale reached 290,000. Coupled with the previous 355,000 and the 4 million entrance fee, Lorne had earned 4,645,000 Alliance dollars today. The higher UPS of the 3 guilds each bought a silver equipment and were very happy. Especially Twinkle Rose, she hugged the silver rapier and could not bear to let it go. However, she was quickly jolted awake by a notification. Ding! You have been kicked out of the team by Leader Tyrant. Pfft! The beautiful guild leader was so angry that she nearly spat out blood. The corners of her mouth twitched. This heartless man, he kicked us the moment the dungeon was cleared. Seeing that the others had left the dungeon, Twinkle Rose was still not resigned. She took advantage of the last minute to continue studying the coffin. However, she did not find anything in the end and could only leave the dungeon helplessly. There must be a secret. That guy must be hiding something. Humph, do you think you can hide from me just because you don't tell me? Stop dreaming. I'll keep an eye on you. Damn little brother.